The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the Forrester estate when Detective Baker arrived with grave news. The peaceful atmosphere that had surrounded the wealthy family shattered in an instant. Inside the elegant mansion, the reactions came swift and overwhelming: gasps of disbelief, tears streaming down carefully composed faces, and a silence so profound it seemed to swallow everyone whole. "I'm deeply sorry to inform you that we've found the body of Ivy Forrester Baker," announced solemnly to the gathered family members. His voice carried the weight of years spent delivering such devastating news. The words hung in the air like a funeral bell, heavy and inescapable. Steffi Forrester gripped her mother's hand. Ridge's expression darkened to stone. The Forrester family, once invincible behind their fashion empire's glittering facade, now faced something no amount of wealth or power could protect them from an unexpected death. A murdered family member. "We're treating this as a homicide investigation." Baker continued his detective's notebook, already filled with initial observations. "We'll need to conduct interviews with everyone who was in contact with Ms. Forrester before her death." Electra's hand flew to her mouth. Will Spencer stood frozen beside her, processing the information with difficulty. The young couple had been inseparable lately, yet neither could have anticipated how their lives were about to spiral into the center of a murder investigation. The final hours. What Ivy witnessed. Before her untimely death, Ivy had been at the beach house. She had observed something that troubled her deeply, a moment that seemed innocent enough on the surface, but carried different implications. Beneath, she saw Dylan dancing closely with Will, their bodies moving in perfect synchronization, their connection undeniable. Their intimacy had struck Ivy as more than friendly, more than casual. Ivy's mind had raced with questions. She had planned to reach out to Electra to share what she had witnessed. She wanted to tell her about the closeness between Dylan and Will, about the way their hands lingered, about the chemistry that seemed almost tangible in the air between them. Perhaps Ivy thought she was doing Electra a favor by warning her. Perhaps she believed her friend deserved to know. But before Ivy could make that crucial phone call to Electra, her life was cut short. "She never contacted me," Electra said shakily when questioned by Detective Baker. "Ivy was supposed to tell me something important, but she never got the chance." Will listened from across the room, his jaw clenched, his fingers flexing unconsciously at his sides. A town gripped by questions. The news of Ivy's death rippled through the community like an earthquake. Who would want to harm Ivy? The Forrester family seemed to know everyone, yet nobody imagined any of them as a target for murder. "It just doesn't make sense," one family member muttered to another during the tense interrogation sessions that followed. Ivy was kind, vibrant. She didn't have enemies. But Detective Baker knew from experience that people often harbored secrets, dark motivations hidden beneath polished exteriors. The world of high fashion, wealth, and power always concealed dangerous currents beneath its glittering surface. The detective turned his attention to the most recent events in Ivy's life. She had been planning to share information with Electra about Dylan and Will. She had seen something that had prompted her to reach out. But who else might have known about her intentions? The pressure mounts on Will and Dylan. Will Spencer found himself under intense scrutiny. He and Electra were in a relationship, yet Ivy had apparently witnessed him with Dylan in what seemed like an intimate moment. The questions multiplied. Had Will heard what Ivy planned to tell Electra? Had he realized his relationship might be jeopardized by Ivy's testimony? Dylan, the newcomer to their circle, also became a person of interest. She had only recently arrived in Los Angeles, and already tension seemed to follow her everywhere. Her interaction with Will had sparked Ivy's concern. But what had Dylan meant by those moments of closeness? Were they as innocent as they appeared, or was there something more? "Where were you the night Ivy died?" Baker asked each of them, his pen poised over his notebook. Will's responses were measured and careful. Dylan's answers seemed genuine, but contained an underlying nervousness that Detective Baker noted with professional interest. The Forrester family's worst nightmare. For the Forrester family, the investigation became their consuming obsession. Ridge questioned his family members privately, desperate to understand what had happened to Ivy. Steffi coordinated with lawyers, ensuring that every family member understood their rights and responsibilities during the investigation. "Someone we know killed her," Steffi said to her father during one particularly tense evening. "It has to be someone close to the family. Someone who knew her movements, her schedule." Ridge's expression grew darker. The implications were clear. The murderer wasn't a stranger. It was someone within their world, someone they had trusted. The fashion house that had been the family's pride seemed to fade into the background. Business meetings were postponed, collections were shelved. Nothing mattered except discovering who had taken Ivy's life and why. Questions without answers. As Detective Baker conducted his investigation, one central question dominated everyone's thoughts. Why was Ivy killed? Was it because of what she had witnessed between Dylan and Will? Had someone been desperate enough to silence her before she could share that information with Elektra? But if that were true, who would have been motivated by such desperation? Or was Ivy killed for an entirely different reason? Perhaps her death had nothing to do with Dylan and Will at all. Perhaps there were secrets within the Forrester family that ran far deeper than anyone had suspected. The victim was killed sometime between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. Detective Baker explained to the gathered family members, during that window, someone ended her life. The manner of death suggests this was not a crime of passion, but rather something planned, calculated. The calculated nature of the crime sent chills through the family. It meant the killer had been thinking clearly, methodically. It meant they had a reason, a motive strong enough to justify such a drastic action. The mystery deepens. Each family member, interviewed by Detective Baker, had their own timeline, their own version of events. Some alibis checked out, others came under question. The detective meticulously documented every interaction, every possible motive, every opportunity. Will continued to maintain his innocence, yet his closeness with Dylan remained a complicating factor. Elektra struggled between her feelings for Will and the suspicion creeping into her mind. Had Will done something to protect his reputation? Had he been afraid of what Ivy might reveal? Dylan kept mostly quiet, cooperating with the investigation but offering little beyond what was asked. There was something guarded about her responses. Something that made Detective Baker wonder if she was hiding something, though. Whether it was connected to Ivy's death remained unclear. Meanwhile, the Forrester household fell into a state of controlled chaos. Family dinners became tense affairs. Every glance held potential accusation. Every word might be analyzed later by police investigators. A family torn apart. "This could have been any one of us," Steffi said to Ridge one night, her voice breaking slightly. "Someone in this family, or someone connected to it, killed Ivy. We're not just dealing with a death, we're dealing with betrayal." Ridge placed a reassuring hand on his daughter's shoulder, but his own expression suggested he was equally shaken. The Forrester legacy had weathered countless storms, but this one felt different. This one came from within. The investigation into Ivy's death became the defining crisis of the Forrester family's recent history. Fashion industry news, social media speculation, and media reports transformed the tragedy into a consuming narrative that no amount of money or influence could suppress. The fan question that won't go away. Fans of the soap opera's drama found themselves obsessed with the central question that Detective Baker was still working to answer: who killed Ivy Forrester? Was it someone trying to protect a secret? Someone desperately afraid of exposure? Or was there a motive even darker, even more sinister, hidden beneath the surface of what everyone assumed they knew about each other? As Detective Baker continued his investigation, interviewing suspects and examining evidence, the Forrester family waited in anxious anticipation. They wanted answers. They wanted justice. Most of all, they wanted to believe that the killer would be caught, and that their family could somehow heal from this devastating blow. The body had been found. The investigation had begun. But the truth, the complete undeniable truth about who had murdered Ivy Forrester and why, remained tantalizingly out of reach, waiting to be uncovered in the days and weeks ahead. Until then, suspicion would hang over Los Angeles like a dark cloud. And everyone in the Forrester world would wonder, did I know the killer? Do I look at them every day? Could I have prevented this tragedy? The mystery of Ivy's death had only just begun.